In today's video, I'm going to be going over three things. The first is going to be these big new card changes to a significant number of cards. The second is going to be analysing the brand new deck code, which is looking to be pretty fucking crazy. And finally, there's going to be an update regarding my channel and thanking you for allowing me to reach 500 subscribers. So let's get started. Right, I certainly wasn't expecting to wake up to all of this news. This has kind of screwed a few of my content plans, to be honest, because I had a lot of videos scheduled. I'd been very productive in the last couple of days in getting stuff together. I'd been very busy before that, so a lot of the videos had been somewhat impromptu and scheduled significantly far in advance. So I'd done a lot of scheduling because I was going to be busy over the next week or so. So I was ready, and then they dropped this. So a couple of those videos I'm now going to have to take down because they're no longer relevant. But that's fine. You probably don't give a fuck. You're getting videos either way. It's just extra work for me. Let's go ahead and get started with these card changes because they are, all of them, very significant. The first thing I want to say, before you get your hopes up, there are no nerfs. There is no Golem Summoning nerf here. But I think that's a good thing, and I will explain why once we go through all of the changes. So these changes will go into effect on July 30th, so I imagine there will be, I believe this is in time for the Xenon on JP, which unfortunately we're not getting, though I do understand why. So that'll be for the Xenon on JP, and I believe this will be in time for whatever ranked season we get in very early August. So let's kick off with Bomb Wisp. So previously this was when destroyed, all minions with 300 BP or lower are destroyed. This was a fine effect before on a 1-1. It did counter golems, but now we also have a passive to deal 1 damage to your opponent's life points whenever your minion transform or metamorphoses once per turn. So this is probably the least impactful card on the list. It's still very good, and that should be sort of a testament to the level of quality of the cards on this list, because I still think this is a very strong card. I'll say the fact that this passive is not once per turn, because what you see with a lot of passives in this game is they specifically say it can only activate once per turn. The fact that this isn't once per turn is very interesting to me, and I think that's something we really should keep an eye out for, because, you know, a transform or metamorphose to like burn 2 is really very strong if you've got 2 of these, and it's such a low cost thing to do so much now. So this is a very strong card, absolutely. The next change is to Alliance Chief Officer Diesler. Before, this was a 4 cost, and now it is a 3 cost, and they reduced the color cost. So reducing the cost of anything is pretty big. So now it is a 3 cost 5-1, which is pretty well statted. And on your opponent's turn, now your opponent's being the cost of 6 or lower cannot attack your forces. So this is another big change. Again, one of the less impactful ones, but still very, very relevant, because once you get into that realm of 6 or less can't attack your forces, you're looking at a lot of stuff. This will effectively go, unless you can deal with this card, then you, for a lot of turns, your cards can't attack, especially like when you're putting them in straight into the field. So this is a very relevant change. You know, being able to do this early is the primary value here. You'll be able to do this 1 turn earlier. It's less reliant on getting a very good color starting base, so this improves consistency in that sense. So this is a very solid change. Next, Moria the Seeker. Now, if you are a long-time subscriber, perhaps you remember my very initial, I think this was like maybe the 3rd Zenonzard video I did, where I talked about 9 Knights of the Magic City. This was a card I thought was really cool. I didn't really have context at the time for how good it was, but now I do, and unfortunately it sucked before, but it absolutely does not suck now. Let's have a look here. So now it is a 7 cost base. However, it now has an on your turn, reduce the basic cost of this card in your hand by 3 for each of your destroyed forces. So bear in mind it's all a basic cost, so you know it becomes a 4 cost if you have 1 destroyed force, and it becomes a 1 cost if you have 2 destroyed forces. And when it's summoned, you select 1 force out of all the forces, and this minion receives the attributes of that force. That means it will be getting all those effects that the force has. So for 8, this was always pretty sus. It wasn't really doing enough. For 7, it's still pretty sus. For 4, it's pretty good for 4. Of course, you will have lost a force at that point, so it's not ideal. For 1, it's obviously amazing in the super late game if you just want to spam your whole hand. This gives you a really big thing you can play, but 4 is probably the sweet spot you want to play at. And for 4, getting to, you know, a common scenario I can imagine is your Phoenix is destroyed, you play this for 4, you copy your opponent's Phoenix, and suddenly you're back online like nothing happened. That's valuable to me, in my opinion. That's very, very valuable. So I think this is a really good change as well. Again, nothing broken or anything, but just a very solid, big change. In fact, actually, right. Here's the big. This is probably the biggest change on this list for most decks. This is a change to Stray Bots. So now, before it just would, when blocking, it would enter the active state, so you could block with it infinitely. But now, the cost of magic cards in your opponent's hand cannot increase, decrease, or become 0. So this is a hard Chiron counter. This is a big deal. You can play this incredibly early. You can, like, you can't play this first turn, but like from turn 2, this is live, and that is a big deal. Being able to just slap this down and effectively turn off your opponent's force is big. And it's safe, because against a lot of the decks where this is good, the removal that would be targeting this to deal with it, to allow them to cast their things for cheap, is actually a 4 cost or a 5 cost or something. So they can't use it, which is, you know, super, super good. Again, there's also a 4-0, right? So it's pretty big statted. This is a big, big counter to red golems, and this is going to be something I think, depending on how big a portion of the meta red battle spirits with the Chiron golems like stays, this is going to be a staple, I think, in basically every deck, because it's going to make that matchup a lot easier. So yeah, another phenomenal change. This is probably the biggest change on this list, or like tied at the top. This is another huge one. And finally, I think there's maybe not finally, but Anju of Aspiration. So again, longer time viewers of my channel know I'm a massive fan of this card. I really, really like this card. I think it's really cool, very unique. I was always hoping it would be good. It was just waiting for the time. They've decided that they want that time to be now, and they're buffing it, and good God, these are big changes. So firstly, reducing the cost of it is massive. Even if nothing had changed about this card at all, reducing it to 3 is still a big deal, because this means you're playing it so much earlier, you're getting it live so much quicker. You can, you know, feasibly play this turn 2 going second, which is a big deal. It's just very, very relevant, right? Or you can even play it turn 3 going second, or going first, turn 3, you'll be able to play this and immediately boost it. So, you know, it's pretty big, but they didn't stop there. They wanted to make it real good. So the effects, they added that when boosted by a color mana, you will now move that mana to the base and the rest state, so you're no longer losing that mana. This is a huge change. This is such a good change. So now Anju is really, really powerful. Now, again, some versions of Anju are better than others. I suggest you check out my Divine Legendary Essentials video if you are interested in finding out more about the details here. I'm not going to go over them all. I don't want to drag this video out to 30-40 minutes, as I am very tempted to do, just to talk about Anju. But yeah, this is a very big change. And in addition, doesn't stop there, because all of her versions have received a buff where now they are 2 DP instead of 1. This is another big change. You know, this is making them just more viable, way more threatening, hitting really hard, and it's just overall, it's just made the deck so much more viable as a thing to build around, and I am unbelievably excited for it. The final change is Grand Tiger, which has before had Resurge, and now has, whenever one of your opponent's minions enters the field, that minion loses 100 BP for the duration of the turn. Now, I believe that this is a strict golem counter for green. I'm pretty sure that this does work when you this works on golem summoning. There's a chance it doesn't if I'm misremembering the specific wording of golem summoning, but I don't think I am. I believe this works, and this is obviously very big. So those are the changes, and as you can see, again, they are all buffs, and in my opinion, from a development point of view, it is always better if you can fix problems with your game with buffs than nerfs, because nerfs never feel good, right? Like, even if something is a massive problem, if you're nerfing it, there are players who probably enjoyed using that card who are no longer going to get enjoyment from using that card. Golem Summoning, whilst it is a problem, is probably a card that, you know, some players really like using. Some budget decks, some people that are struggling to clear the event or the quest content really need, and by nerfing that card you're making it a lot more difficult for those players because of the ranked ladder. So if you can buff other things to make those cards less good in the meta, that's a far more preferable way of doing things, and that's what they've done here. Let's have a read of the current meta statement they use here, because I think this is very interesting. So this is data from ranking Season 7 and Season Summer, and you can see it's very interesting, and it's, I mean, you know, confirmation bias here from me, I suppose, but this does seem in line with my personal experience, where it seems that basically Red Battle Spirits with Chiron is about 29% of the format with a 58% win rate. A 58% win rate is really high, guys. I know it doesn't sound that high, but when you're doing these like huge, so I come from like a competitive card game background, and let me tell you, if there was a deck that had a pretty much 60% win rate against everything, that would be the unquestionable, like, tier 0 probably, top of tier 1 definitely. There's not really anything else to play in this format, like, it's way better than everything else. There's, like, you know, the format's solved, right? Like, if such a deck existed, you would immediately know. And you know, so and that was amongst all players in all ranked matches. Now in Master, the win rate is very slightly different, and that's actually really surprising, because you've got to remember, below Master the decks are way worse, right? Like, you know, people don't have complete decks, the bots are worse, the AI levels are lower. So obviously if you're playing a Phoenix, a Red Battle Spirit deck, you'll be doing better in those ranks, but there will be way less people playing it, is what one might imagine. But you see that the usage in Master is still incredibly high, because, you know, like, if it's easier to win with a deck in below Master, then it'll see more play as well. I think I've explained that poorly, but I hope you understand my logic and what I'm coming from there. But it doesn't matter really, because in Master it's basically just as high, slightly less usage on 26.3%, but basically an identical win rate, 57%. Again, this is, guys, astronomically high. The same with Purple, a much lower usage rate of 17.8%. This is a lot more in line with what one might expect for a game as well balanced as this, where it's approximately 1/6 of the format. But a 53% win rate is definitely against everything. That is enough to make it a tier 1 deck. It is primarily winning, which is, you know, obviously quite good. So yeah. So what they've done is they've seen this data and they've gone, okay, these decks are kind of problems, they are winning too much, especially red. So what they've done is, we can see from the data that the types of decks are getting the most use and the most frequent wins. These include decks that implement a fast pace by filling the field with low cost minions before using the cost reduction effect to spend red mana efficiently and summon more powerful minions, as well as purple decks that destroy the forces with low cost and mid cost minions early in the game before using that advantage to close out the match. That is exactly what those decks do. While the stats for these decks are relatively high, we concluded there are no need for nerfs. And I should say that this is, you know, if we were seeing win rates of 60 to 70%, I think nerfs would basically be mandatory at that point. Thankfully, the game is, again, well balanced enough that, whilst very strong, and I said this in the tier list video, which you guys will be seeing soon, which will, of course, be coming out just as it's about to be invalidated by these changes. But, you know, it is still relevant. As you will see in that video, I said that it's very close to broken, Red Battle Spirits. It's very, very close, and thankfully it isn't. You gotta be kidding me. It's not an Aibo video without an interruption. Oh. So yeah, they've made these changes with that in mind. They've decided not to nerf because they didn't think it was too big a problem, but they did want to fix the format a bit, and yeah, I am massively thankful. A clarification that you won't get anything for breaking these because it's all buffs, they're not nerfing anything. So from a business standpoint, buffs are obviously a lot better as well as nerfs, because, you know, what kind of player gets to turn around and go, well, you've buffed my card, so I want my money back? That's clearly bullshit. And, you know, there's the usual spiel here. So that is the information on the nerfs. Very big changes. Right, because I'm a fucking blabbermouth and I can't keep my mouth shut about exciting game changes, I've already managed to drag this video out very long, so I'm going to try not to gush about this too much, because it is very interesting. So this deck is going to be available for about a month. Let's talk about this because this is pretty wild. So you can see that they have given you 3 opportunities to purchase this, and this is interesting. The first one is 1500 Zedstones, second is 1700, third is 2000. What are you getting for this? My expectations were low, let me just tell you. After the Battle Spirit deck code, I was expecting 1 legendary or 3 legendaries at best for this price. You get 7. What? You get 7 goddamn legendaries? That's a lot. You also get some epics. You get 4, 5, 6 epics. This is pretty crazy. Now, I'm not going to review the specifics of the deck here. I don't think that's necessary. However, I will say that 7 legendaries for 1500 stones, even all the way to 2000 stones, that is not bad at all. That's a good deal. Obviously, it's not as good a deal as the beginner decks, but, you know, what is? Like, they don't make deals that good. Now, in terms of the legendaries as well as what you're getting, okay, you're getting Tree, that's a good legendary. Ethereal Giant, good legendary used in Tree. You're getting the 9 Knights of the Magic City legendary, which has been buffed, which is now a lot more playable, so that's pretty good. The 7 cost from Divine is a very good legendary. Those next 2 legendaries are both from Revenant of the Sword, which I still need to do my set review on, and that is coming. But they're pretty good, and obviously you get a copy of Anju. So, you know, this is high value. Now, if you were to buy all of these, it would cost you 5,200 Zedstones. So basically 75 quid you'd be paying. 75 quid, you're getting 21 legendaries, so it's costing you, you know, just about £3.50 per legendary. It's not too bad, honestly. It's not too bad at all. It's pretty close to in line with the good deal, I'd say. It's not cheap, don't get me wrong. don't get it twisted. I'm not saying this is a super amazing deal, you need to hop on. However, I am saying if you're a whale, or if you're a spender, this is definitely a pretty reasonable way to do this. And if you just like want to make this deck, fucking go nuts, man. Yeah, so this will be sold July 30th. Apparently there are other products scheduled to be sold as well. I imagine there will be some big Zedstone pack, because at the moment this is just for buying Zedstones. But if they release a whole new like Brighter pack or something, so it comes with like, you know, oh, well, you get 2 guaranteed legends from Forbidden, and you also get 1,000 gold, and you also get XYZ sleeves, and you also get this, and you get your 5,200 stones. It's a much better proposition, even though it's already a pretty good proposition. So that's the update on this deck code. I will once again mouse over the deck so you can see it. Unfortunately, I can't show the whole thing on screen at once, but there it is again. We will talk about this more in the future when it releases, but for now I'm going to cut this a little section here in the interest of time. Okay, finally, the 500 subscriber update. Thank you so much, guys. I'm over the moon. We've reached 500 subs. Hopefully 1,000 is soon. Very much on track for reaching this by the end of the summer, as was my goal. So hopefully we do that. In terms of updates, the main thing I wanted to say is that I'm basically planning to keep going with the daily content. I don't really have any plans to stop that. The main thing I wanted to say is that you'll have noticed that there has been variety content on the channel recently, and that has been taking the spot of a Zenonzard video. I should say with that, I do still there is going to still be variety content. I hope you watch it because I think it's pretty cool. It's interesting. It's just different stuff to what you usually see, and I think that's always nice to be exposed to stuff you don't necessarily know anything about. And I hope I'm able to do that for you guys, and you see something cool and maybe you end up wanting to try it. So you may have seen my 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross video. That was just a nice little bit of wailing. I did some more last night that I regret because I got shafted and I didn't record it, so I can't even fucking upload it. But ignore that. There's a lot of Bushy Road videos that I've been making. I was going to make a video about the stream recently, but I've decided not to make a video on that because it was basically going to be a rant, and I think that'll be very fun. Big updates in terms of physical TCGs. Kizuna, sort of regarding that stream, perhaps there was something very much lost in translation, because this was not something parroted by me, by the way. This is something, well, I suppose I did parrot it, but this was not something propagated by me necessarily. This was information I got from people who speak Japanese, right? Like, oh yeah, there is a new trading card project they're going to be talking about on this stream. Apparently Casino just doesn't fucking exist. So that logo you see to the right of Aibo Academy, where the fuck knows, honestly. Is it a TCG? Is it coming out? I don't know. Honestly, really don't know at this point. I'll keep an eye out. Again, I'm not really a massive fan of Bushiroad right now, so if I don't, like, you know, I was only really willing to give it a shot because it's a guaranteed tournament season, but if it doesn't happen, I'm happy to wait for Gate Ruler. The art in that game looks phenomenal. There will be Gate Ruler videos coming out where I'm going to do like a Gate Ruler art review, I think, and just basically try and hype everyone up for that game because it looks really cool. But yeah, that's that. So yeah, basically daily videos are continuing. There will be variety content. Expect 1 to 3 variety videos a week, just depending on the week. Zenonzard is still going to be the bread and butter of this channel for the foreseeable future. Certainly, I don't see that changing now at this point until October, the end of October, when Gate Ruler comes in full swing. But even then, I don't know that I'll, you know, one of the challenges with making daily videos is that it's very, is ideas, right? It's coming up with interesting ideas to make videos about. And in that sense, Zenonzard is phenomenal because it has very regular updates. With physical TCGs, with Bushiroad, that's a lot easier because they shit sets out the door at a fucking, ridiculous pace. So it's very easy to make daily videos for that, provided, well, I wouldn't say it's very easy, but it's certainly easier. Whereas if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh! Or a Magic style release schedule, it's a lot more difficult. So we'll see what Gate Ruler does, if I'm able to make daily videos on that. I imagine it will end up being relatively even split of the two when it comes to that time. Perhaps 3 videos a week of Zenonzard, 3 videos a week of Gate Ruler, and then 1 video of something else. We'll see. This is all very far in the future. I'm just keeping you guys updated so you know what my thought process is. But yeah, so thanks again for 500 subs, guys. Hopefully 1,000 is soon. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like on it. Please comment any questions you have or any thoughts or whatever, any content you'd like me to make in the comment section down below. And finally, please subscribe to the channel. As I'm sure you heard, we're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. So I would really appreciate it if you help me reach my goal. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you in tomorrow's video. Cheers.